Good morning. You're listening to The Brief Wake Up, your mindful start to the day. I am Handel, your daily coffee companion, helping you wake up informed, thoughtful, and maybe just a little amused before the day gets old. If you're commuting, corralling kids, or just standing in line for caffeine, you're in the right place. Let's get you caught up. For Health is Morning, let's talk about how your mouth is a window into your body. Most people think oral health is about clean teeth, a bright smile, and avoiding cavities. But medically, biologically, your mouth is one of the most important diagnostic and inflammatory gateways in the entire body. Because the mouth is not an isolated system. It is a high-traffic intersection of bacteria, immune activity, vascular flow, and early warning signals that often show up long before a disease appears anywhere else. And here's the key point. Inflammation in the mouth rarely stays in the mouth. Periodontal disease, the chronic inflammation of the gums and supporting tissues, is now strongly linked with higher risks of cardiovascular disease, stroke, diabetes complications, adverse pregnancy outcomes, and even certain types of dementia. Why? Because the same inflammatory molecules and bacteria that irritate the gums can travel into the bloodstream. Once they do, they contribute to systemic inflammation, the underlying mechanism of some of our most serious chronic diseases. This is why cardiologists now frequently ask about gum bleeding. It is why endocrinologists ask about dry mouth and infection risk in poorly controlled diabetes. And it is why OB/GYNs monitor gum health in pregnancy, as those inflammatory shifts can influence preterm birth and low birth weight. But beyond inflammation, oral health also reflects behaviors linked to overall well-being. Sleep apnea often presents first as teeth grinding or jaw tension. Nutritional deficiencies show up early as tongue changes or gum recession. Even stress leaves fingerprints, cracked teeth, clenching, or ulcers. In many ways, your mouth tells the truth about the rest of your body before you consciously feel it. The good news is that oral health is one of the most modifiable risk factors we have. Brushing twice a day, flossing, routine cleanings, avoiding excessive sugar, staying hydrated, and treating gum disease early can significantly reduce systemic inflammation. You are not just protecting your teeth, you are lowering your overall disease burden. The bottom line, good oral health is not cosmetic. It is preventive medicine. And in many cases, it is the earliest warning signal your body gives you. If you pay attention to it, the news is next. In the news, we will focus on the crisis in Iran. Iran is now entering its third week of the most intense internal unrest the country has seen in years. What began as scattered demonstrations over soaring inflation, food prices, and a rapidly collapsing currency has transformed into a nationwide political confrontation. Protests have swept across Tehran, Isfahan, Shiraz, Mashhad, and dozens of smaller cities. What is striking is that this is no longer a single-issue movement. Crowds are calling for accountability, reforms, and in many cases, sweeping political change. Human rights groups outside Iran estimate that more than 500 people have been killed and over 10,000 detained. Those numbers are difficult to confirm, and that is part of the story. The government has imposed a near-total blackout on mobile networks, broadband internet, and major communication platforms. That blackout is preventing families from locating missing relatives and making it nearly impossible for independent observers to verify the scale of the crisis. Despite the blackout, fragmented videos and audio clips continue to surface. They show heavily armed security forces deploying live ammunition, tear gas, and armored vehicles against crowds. Activists describe morgues and forensic centers in Tehran becoming overwhelmed. Some of the most disturbing reports involve families being told not to hold public funerals, and journalists say that many medical staff are being pressured not to speak to the press. The international reaction is escalating. The United States has condemned the use of lethal force and is evaluating diplomatic and economic responses. Senior officials have confirmed that Washington is monitoring military options, though no decisions have been announced. In response, Iran's leadership has issued an unusually direct warning. It says any American or Israeli strike, even limited, will be met with retaliation. That language has raised concern about unintended escalation between regional powers and the possibility of the unrest spilling beyond Iran's borders. Around the world, solidarity demonstrations continue. The largest U.S. protest so far has been in Los Angeles, where tensions briefly escalated after a driver in a U-Haul accelerated toward the crowd, prompting a rapid police response. Global human rights organizations are pressing for access to the country and urging the United Nations to formally review the situation. But so far, Iran has resisted international observers. As of now, Iran remains cut off from much of the world. Protests continue in multiple cities. Security forces continue to respond with force, and the information blackout means the full scale of what is happening inside the country remains hidden. This is a fast developing story, and we will continue to monitor it closely. The Big Sip is next. The past 5 Big Sip segments, we have spent breaking down why music feels like the soundtrack of our lives. We began with biology and the fact that rhythm predates language. Then memory, addressing how music stores emotional state, not just information. We discussed music regulation as rhythm synchronizes heart, breath, and nervous system. Then communication and how music conveys meaning without explanation. Our last show was the narrative and how music organizes life into chapters. Taken together, these ideas point to something larger. Music isn't just something we listen to. It's something we live inside. It's the invisible architecture connecting our biology, our emotion, our memory, and our identity into one coherent experience. And the older you get, the more you realize this. Music is one of the few things that changes with you without losing the version of you it once held. That's why hearing an old song can feel like stepping back into a former self with absolute clarity. Your brain isn't retrieving information, it's reconstructing continuity. In moments of transition, uncertainty, grief, or reinvention, music becomes an anchor, not a distraction, not entertainment, instead a stabilizing force. When the world feels overwhelming, music regulates the body. When memory feels fragmented, music restores state. When language fails, music communicates emotion directly. When life loses structure, music provides narrative shape. This is why a playlist can feel like identity. Why people say, "This is my song." Why certain tracks become tied to milestones, relationship seasons, recoveries, and endings. It isn't favoritism, it is selfhood. And technology has only made this role more explicit. Streaming platforms don't categorize music by genre anymore. They categorize by context, such as focus, grief, confidence, healing, and grounding. Not because it's convenient, but because it reflects how humans actually use music. Not for entertainment, but for orientation. Music tells the nervous system where we are. It helps regulate what we feel. It gives shape to what would otherwise be chaos. And it holds the thread of identity through the moments when everything else is shifting. This is also why music crosses every barrier, language, geography, generation, and politics. It doesn't need translation. It operates through biology. And this is why, at a cultural level, music becomes one of the few shared experiences left. When we sing together, in a stadium, at a concert, at a funeral, in a living room, We aren't consuming sound. We're synchronizing state. We're aligning memory, breath, emotion, and identity into a collective rhythm. In a fragmented world, that is not small. That is rare. Music isn't background. It's connective tissue. Music isn't noise. It's the nervous system externalized. Music isn't passive. It's the way we hold ourselves together, individually and collectively. If life is a story, music is the part that reminds you you're still the one living it. Technology keeps trying to optimize music, but music doesn't optimize. It orients. It tells us where we are in our own lives and who we still are inside them. The lighter roast is next. There's a rule I wish we all, including myself, lived more by. Shame in private, praise in public. It sounds simple, but in practice, most of us get it backward. We correct publicly. We applaud quietly. We point out what someone missed, and we forget to acknowledge what they did right. The problem is not intention, it's instinct. As humans, we're wired to notice errors faster than effort. The brain treats mistakes as threats, so they command attention. But effort, the part that shows loyalty, care, consistency, blends into the background unless we actively name it. And the people closest to us feel that imbalance the most. When someone matters to you, a partner, a friend, a sibling, a colleague, the way you handle their vulnerabilities impacts their relationship with themselves, not just with you. Shame in public doesn't correct behavior. It erodes safety. It doesn't teach the lesson you think it does. It just teaches them to hide from you. When you call someone out in front of others, you think you're sending a message. Please get this right. But the message they receive is, I'm not safe to fail around you. And that breaks trust, quietly but deeply. On the other hand, praise in public expands people. Not flattery, not performance. Genuine praise, specific, earned and sincere. When you acknowledge small efforts publicly, something powerful happens. You reinforce what's working and you protect their dignity. You show others how to treat them. You give them confidence to grow, and you build a shared culture of respect, and it costs you nothing. The irony is that most of us think praise needs to be saved for major moments, big achievements, and big milestones. But most lives are built on small, unseen effort, consistency, patience, and follow-through. Choosing kindness when irritation would be easier. When you praise those moments publicly, the person doesn't just feel seen, they feel valued. When you correct someone privately, they don't feel attacked, they feel respected. It sends a message. Your dignity matters more to me than being right. And that message changes everything. The people who feel valued rise. The people who feel shame shrink. The environment you create determines which direction they go. Shame creates distance. Praise creates loyalty. Shame makes people defensive. Praise makes them generous. Shame lowers trust. Praise raises the ceiling. And here's the part people overlook. Public praise isn't for the person you're praising. It's for everyone watching. It signals what kind of leader, partner, friend, or parent you are. It tells the room, this is how we treat the people we care about. And private correction isn't weakness, it's maturity. It shows that you want growth, not humiliation. Improvement, not punishment. Because at the end of the day, most relationships break down the same way. Not enough praise for what someone is doing. Too much attention to what they aren't. If you can flip that ratio, if you can shame in private and praise in public, you create an environment where people feel safe enough to grow. And that safety is what keeps relationships alive. People don't remember every criticism, but they never forget who protected their dignity. Our commemoration is next. Today is January 12th, and this date carries a lot of weight. It holds tragedy, history, culture, and even a little comfort all at once. So this morning, we're taking a moment to look at 4 things worth remembering. First, Haiti. On January 12th, 2010, Haiti suffered one of the deadliest earthquakes in modern history. Hundreds of thousands of lives were lost in minutes. Entire neighborhoods collapsed. Families were separated. Today, we honor those lives. We honor the survivors, and we honor the resilience of the Haitian people, both at home and around the world. It remains a reminder of how fragile life is and how powerful human strength can be. Second, a turning point in U.S. and global history. On this day in 1991, Congress authorized military force in the Gulf War. That single vote reshaped U.S. policy, altered alliances, and changed millions of lives, from soldiers and their families to civilians caught in the conflict. It stands as a reminder that decisions made in one room can echo through generations. Third, Motown. Because January 12th isn't only heavy. In 1959, Berry Gordy founded what would become Motown Records. Motown didn't just change music, it changed culture. It launched legends, broke racial barriers, and united listeners across divides at a time when division was the norm. Motown proved that music can move a nation faster than politics ever will. And finally, something lighter. January 12th is also National Curry Chicken Day. A small, warm reminder that even in a world marked by seismic events and historic turning points, we still come together around food. Whether it's Haitian style, Indian, Jamaican, Thai, West African, or British, curry is culture, migration, memory, and comfort in one dish. So January 12th becomes a mosaic: grief and resilience in Haiti, global consequences in the Gulf War, artistic revolution through Motown, and the simple human joy of sharing a meal. It shows us that a single day can hold everything: loss, progress, culture, community, and the reminder that we're all connected in ways we don't always see. Today we looked at how oral health is directly tied to systemic inflammation, examined a rapidly evolving crisis in Iran, and closed our music series with the idea that songs anchor identity when life becomes chaotic. We also explored why shaming in private and praising in public builds deeper trust in every relationship. And as we commemorated January 12th, we were reminded that one date can hold grief, history, culture, and community all at once. This is Dr. Robinson for The Brief Wake Up. Stay calm, kind, and curious. I'll catch up with you tomorrow.